The Hitler Youth. By the time Adolf Hitler and his Nazis had officially become in charge of Germany in January of 1933, there were many youth groups in existence, including political, social, and religious ones. One of these groups was the Hitler Youth. This was the second oldest paramilitary group within Nazi Germany, with the oldest being the Hitler Youth's adult comparison, the SA, or the Sturmabteilung. The Hitler Youth originally began as the Youth League of the Nazi Party in March of 1922, but after the failed beer hall putsch in November 1923, the Weimar government temporarily banned Nazi groups and organizations, including the Hitler Youth. After the ban was lifted, the Hitler Youth was named the official youth wing of the Nazi Party in July 1926. As the Hitler Youth got more and more popular throughout the early 1930s, the Nazis wanted to expand their influence, which they did by having the Hitler Youth expand to include girls. These new groups were separated based on age and gender and are as follows. The German Youngsters were for boys aged 10 to 14, the Young Girls League was for girls aged 10 to 14, the Hitler Youth was for boys aged 14 to 18, and finally the League of German Girls, which was for girls aged 14 to 18. In 1931, Baldur von Schirach became in charge of these four branches. Later on, he became a Nazi Party chief and left his position in the Hitler Youth, but was still close with the group. The Hitler Youth was now headed by Arthur Axmann. With the Nazis now firmly in control of Germany, they made the Hitler Youth have a very important role to play in spreading Nazism among those not old enough to fully comprehend it. This was all part of the plan of Nazifying as much as they could by getting rid of existing normalities. The Hitler Youth was a lot about conformity, as the children got used to being part of a group and to do the same thing. The children had the same uniforms, sang the same songs, and did the same activities. One of the ways the Nazis maximized their influence and indoctrination was by having the Hitler Youth events to be, as much as possible, not just to instill their ideology, but to prevent the children from being exposed to other ideas, like ones from their parents, teachers, and religious figures. At this point, all youth groups within Nazi Germany not named the Hitler Youth were either merged in with the Hitler Youth or dismantled and discouraged. In 1936, a law was put into effect saying, "The Hitler Youth encompasses all German youth within Reich territory." This pretty much eradicated any other opposing youth groups. By early 1939, all boys and girls between the ages of 10 and 18 within Germany were required to join the Hitler Youth. The Nazis punished those who did not comply with these regulations. The reason that the Hitler Youth was so encouraged and supported by the Nazi Party is because they knew that these youth would be the same people teaching and arguing about their politics and fighting their wars in the future. The children were taught to be fit and to be knowledgeable on the Nazi racial policies. The Hitler Youth's members made frequent appearances at the Nazi Nuremberg rallies, as well as other Nazi-themed events. By the outbreak of the Second World War in 1939, the Hitler Youth already had plenty of determined young men ready to fight. Those who were over the age of 18 were serving in the war as soldiers or otherwise. Those still too young to fight were helping out the war effort by bringing care packages to the German soldiers and helping out in other ways. Some older members were sent to the annexed German-speaking territories, as the Nazis believed that these areas needed to become German again. The Hitler Youth members were sent to teach the German language and other Germanic practices and traditions. As the war was looking more and more favorable for the Allies, there were plenty of air raids over Germany, and as there was a lack of manpower, Hitler Youth members were being used to operate anti-aircraft weaponry. The Hitler Youth was also able to help the civilians affected by these bombings. The girls from the League of German Girls were helping out in the distribution of food and acted as nurses as well. In 1943, the Waffen-SS made a division for Hitler Youth members, consisting of boys aged either 16 or 17 at the time. This division was deployed in France, where they committed several war crimes and massacres of both soldiers and civilians. The Hitler Youth also fought against the Allies during the Normandy invasion, as well as the Battle of the Bulge. In the final months of the war, the Allies were nearing Berlin, and the Nazis came up with the Volkssturm, where males between the age of 16 and 60 were sent to fight against the incoming enemies. This, as expected, was a failure, and it is estimated that thousands of Hitler Youth members died in this ill-fated process. As the Allies closed in, Adolf Hitler killed himself on the 30th of April, and the Nazis surrendered unconditionally on the 8th of May, 1945, ending the war. The Hitler Youth was dissolved by the Allies following World War II as part of a massive process of getting rid of anything Nazi. Thanks for watching.